Hello and welcome. In the last few months, AI hasn't just moved fast, it has actually changed shape. And we've gone from chatbots to agentic systems that can browse the web, analyze documents, trigger workflows, and soon shop even and transact for us directly inside tools like Claude and ChatGPT. And we can see the direction of travel. AI is quietly moving towards an operating system, an operating layer that is sitting between people, data, business processes, and do I dare say, even making decisions on our behalf. And for business leaders in particular, especially mid market companies, this raises some big questions. Where is the technology going? What are going to be the big developments in the next couple of years? What will change in how we build products, serve our customers, and organize our work? And crucially, what is going to happen to the companies that are waiting on the sidelines and others, while others and their competitors are deploying these systems? So, in today's live, we are not going to discuss hype or we're not going to chase shiny tools. It's all about the big picture. It's understanding the strategic direction of AI. And to help us do that, I have my co-founder here with me, Agis Georgiou. Hi, Agis.
Hello, Celia.
Agis is a data scientist and AI expert. And our guest for today is Sotiris Karagiannis. And we are joined by someone who is living, breathing this space. Sotiris is a Chief Innovation Officer at Space Hellas Group. He's an AI pioneer and an early AI entrepreneur. And critically, he also he was one of the very first people to study artificial intelligence at the University of Edinburgh, which is one of the pioneering universities in the world on artificial intelligence. Welcome, Sotiri.
Thank you very much for having me. It's a pleasure.
Thank you. Thank you for being here. And let's dive right in. Now, why do you think, let's answer this question. Why do you think it matters for business owners and senior leaders to understand where AI technology is heading?
Right. That's a great question. The thing is that leaders and business owners, they need to offer their solutions, their products to people, and people are now everybody is using AI in some sense. It's amazing how I see the analogy between the early internet days and today's AI. There was a hype back then, but everybody was trying to understand what the internet could provide. Now we know it took us a lot of years to understand the full value of the internet, where it would get us. And AI is something like this, but with a huge difference in terms of acceleration. Because the people in the digital era were going early enough in the internet, and the customers, the companies tried to grab this attention, they were going also in the internet early enough. It's the same now. Businesses have to go and understand what AI can do for them so they can reach out to people through this technology, not only with data, internal or external, but also behaviorally.
I love this analogy, Sotiris, because the internet is something we now all understand. It's something we can wrap our heads around it. Whereas with AI, a lot of us may be having some difficulty quite understanding what is this new technology. And then if we don't understand, it's prone to hype. So I love this. I love this thing. So in terms of looking into 2026 or even a couple of years beyond, what do you think? How do you envisage that the next big AI thing is going to be? How is the world is going to look for us?
think that the big companies, OpenAI, Anthropic, Microsoft, Google, Meta, are looking, Amazon, are looking into how they can, let's say, make it easier for everybody to use their systems so they can gather more data. So this data can go back a return of investment to their investments and also to the decisions that will help companies make. So initially, we started with chatbots. It was an example was OpenAI's ChatGPT was the first one to go out there, and now we're having chatbots in every in every place. But the thing is it's not the chatbot itself. It's how fast an everyday person can use AI in their everyday life. They can talk to them. They can ask them to shop things for them, and not being, let's say, grabbed by just a screen. So that the voice thing will go faster. And in 1 or 2 years, we all will be talking to some kind of our own AI assistant, not only for our work, but also for doing things. That has to do with the underlying structure, how agentic AI is going to be working, because all this very fast interaction, voice will have to be also supported by huge systems behind that, data systems, backends, cloud services, even local edge compute, on-premise computing, in terms of some companies that do not want to share their proprietary information. So that voice is the next big deal.
Right. So if I'm trying to imagine this, so we are walking around. I have my phone. I'm talking to my phone to my AI agents, and then I'm talking to you through your AI agent. So our agents are talking to each other, but we don't talk to each other, not unless we absolutely want to. Is that sort of where it's heading with voice, you think?
You want to buy something, and let's say you want to buy a cloth or something, and you describe it. You don't have to share a picture or something. This you describe it, and then it will go and find what you need, and then negotiate for you and give you back. It's having an assistant, and but these assistants will be actually more or less for everything. So it's not going to be Siri or Copilot or whatever, because there's so many apps to choose from. So there are going to be so many AIs to choose from. But the thing is that whoever owns the device, and now it's Apple and Google, for example, will be the first ones to implement those things. So I believe that the big companies are doing this. They're creating the bottom-up approach, and then this can go everywhere. If I'm, as a consumer, if I'm going to do this in my everyday life, I'm going to decide the same thing for my company. It's the analogy of Twitter. It was Twitter and Facebook, and then it was Yammer. And today we have Teams. So it's the evolution of whatever happens in the retail industry or the consumer industry then goes internally into enterprises at some point in time.
I think you're right, because you definitely see there is a trend around voice notes. All of us are tending to send each other. So you're right, for companies to be looking at what is the behavior of the ground at the moment and kind of build up with that. And also it will help with adoption of AI. It will be easier with people who might be a little bit resistant in terms of adopting into their everyday life, because an easier adoption is through personal. If you start using AI for your personal, as a personal assistant, and then you think, well, okay, maybe I can transfer that over to work as well. And Agis, in terms of your perspective on the voice aspect of AI leading, what are your thoughts on that?
So first of all, I would comment on the first question. One of my favorite models is that the Greeks and the Romans afterwards were saying, no wind is favorable if you don't know which port you're sailing to, right? So this is an ancient model, but it still holds true today. So in order to have a strategy, you need to have an understanding of how things are going, right? So both to be able to understand the risks, but also the opportunities. So I was having this discussion a while ago, and a lot of people are talking, they are focusing on the risks. Of course, you need to focus on the risks, but you need to focus also on the opportunity, especially if you are a small or medium business owner, right? Is more of a threat for the big players usually. When there's a change, is more of a threat for the big guys, less of a threat, more of an opportunity for the smaller ones, the ones that know how to adapt. For the other ones, it's also a threat, of course. If you don't want to adapt, it's a threat. But if you do want to adapt, it's a big opportunity. So I would say that's why we need to have a good understanding of where things are going. There's no perfect understanding of where things are going. There's like, we have so many tools now and we can do things faster than ever before, and this will accelerate. But it's always good to understand where the big picture. And in terms of voice, I would say yes, voice. So we evolved writing because we needed some way to store information, right? But now we can still store information using voice. So it makes sense. It's more natural to us. I also prefer voice. So even today, the voice models are not that good. But for example, when I'm driving, sometimes I can call in a way with my car. I can call the voice agent and I can have a discussion. So I often do my research on various topics, even projects. I will discuss with the model the project. So I, of course, it's like is one of the big changes we're going to see, how we interact with the machines, because
It's not the only one. It's not the only one. It's just that we need the easier communication with our systems. And it's easiest to talk than write. I find it very difficult. And it's also a generational issue. I mean, young people are always now talking to their phones, and it's going to come. Older people don't do it. They still chat, but it takes a lot of time, and we don't have much time in our lives.
True. And also, just to note, Agis, I think it's another big opportunity as we had social media. When social media first came through, it was quite disruptive because that meant small businesses could now compete with big enterprises and do really well. So there is an equivalent of that opportunity. But let's discuss now a little bit what's holding us back. We have seen a number of reports that the return on investment isn't quite there. A lot of companies are quite enthusiastic. They adopt, they're trying to, not everyone in the company is on board, but they also don't seem to be getting the results that they wanted. What's stopping us, do you think, Sotiris?
The companies haven't understood yet how they can do that. And there are not enough people to consult them on that. So they're making very small steps. Usually they just want to jump into the bandwagon of AI. They're doing mistakes. They're doing it wrong, in the wrong way, and they get disappointed. They don't have enough data. Even if they have data, it's very difficult for them to know which kind of data they are going to share with AI or process with AI and also they don't have a strategy on that. They don't have internal people that know how to do it. It's not the same as ERPs or whatever. Now there are a lot of people that can consult them on ERPs, but AI is a different thing. So there's also a hype. Everybody comes out there and says, "Oh, I'm an AI expert," or "I'm an AI consultant." And honestly, I see a lot of companies, and that's good that they switched from something else into AI because they find it easy to wrap systems around OpenAI or whatever, and then they claim. And I see it every day. I mean, people send me, deck speeches or summaries of things that they are going to be doing without even having the opportunity to work with a big company, let's say, to understand the problems of a big company, and not only for enterprises. So that we're in the early hype. It's like, okay, it was not on the internet. Again, I say this analogy. In the early days of the internet, we were hyped by some kind of images, videos, or whatever, even dogs, cats, or whatever. But the thing is that the same with social media. When social media started, everybody was hyped about that. The thing is, how do you make money out of this? How do you focus on what's your problems? Define your most important problem. Go there and have a POC. Find a good person to work with, and filter the noise, because there's so much noise people don't know about what exactly to do. So it's natural that we're in the early phase of that, and the more people will be using that, the more data will be available, and the more behavioral systems will understand how the companies can sell. Because at the end, it's the sales is what moves the wheel. Yeah, I'm confident that it will come, but honestly, when I advise companies, big companies, smaller companies, on what to do, I say have a person consult you, have a reliable person consult you, and then do small steps. The companies cannot do accelerated steps. They're not Microsoft, they're not Google. So you have to do small steps, define your early wins, define your lowest hanging fruit, define your biggest problems, and ask those people how you can, you can fix that. And then for the companies, find a repeatable model. Find a model that is not so, custom made for every company. So find a repeatable model so you can sell the same thing and like invest in it and improve your solution, your product. That's it.
It sounds simple, isn't it? But yes, I think you're right. You do need someone to guide you. On the data aspect, Agis, and the connection with AI, I'm noticing, and I know when we talk to people, we either have companies with a lot of data that they want to make sense of it, and they're looking for efficient ways of doing it. But on the other side, there are also companies that might be thinking, well, I'm not sure I have enough data or I'm capturing the right data in order to go in and start looking at custom AI solutions. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, very interesting questions in the previous discussion as well. So I remember there was someone once that told me, I need someone that can make sense of my data without me doing anything. So I just want an algorithm to do that. And I told them, good luck. It's not a client I would be interested in consulting with, right? So, and the reason is I have been in this space for almost 10 years, and I always remember clients and companies think they have good data. And before looking at the data, I can tell you, you don't have data. It's trash. And the reason is very simple. You have not collected the data having in mind what you want to do with it. If you don't do that, you're not going to have good data. There are so many aspects of it. So it's not going to work. Many people think that, okay, I gathered them. I asked someone in the company to keep them somewhere. I don't know where, but it's very important for me. It doesn't work. It will not work. And also another thing that is very important, and I advise people to have that in mind, is have someone that has a very good high level view of the landscape. And the reason is, back in the days before AI, it was quite often important to have specific skills, right? So know a specific language or some framework. This is no longer that important because you can use, so a lot of these super high expense, very expensive jobs have partially been automated. They're not that difficult anymore because AI can do that. What you can do, even with AI, is understand how to solve the problem. So we have a lot of technology waves, and many problems can be solved with a lot easier tools, right? So I see that with clients a lot as well. There are a lot of problems you can solve that have already been solved. It's easy to solve them, and we have the tools for them. You don't need AI for them, or you don't need a very sophisticated solution. And that's why you need to have someone that understands what kind of tools we have, because they can guide you towards the correct technology. And what often happens with a lot of people that do not really understand the technology, that they overhype, and second, they cannot really understand how they will solve the problem. They will just throw the solution they have. Every time they have one tool, one solution, they will throw it. And if it works well, if it doesn't work, well, your problem. Have someone that can tell you if what happens works, and that they can, they know the tools to test. And also very important, I always advise clients as well to do that. Start with POCs with AI, because the problem is we can do a lot of things, but there is always very little details that we need to make sure work. I can go in detail about those, but it's important to to understand that with a GPOC, make sure that it works, so you don't invest a lot of money in the use case if it doesn't work. And also for people that have no experience with AI, don't overinvest. Start with small projects and gradually increase to understand how to work with people, with companies, because I often Another problem is with budget, right? It's not cheap because you can buy a subscription of $20. It doesn't mean that doing custom projects or more expensive or more difficult is going to be cheap. It's not going to be cheap because these subscriptions are paid by 200 million people. Your use case is not useful to 200 million people or 1 billion people. So it's not going to be that cheap to develop. And I can go on, but we have to be time conscious. So I will stop here.
Yeah, thanks for that. And it's an adoption problem, or the lack of and proper AI adoption roadmap. This, I think, the lack of understanding the bigger picture. But for the next few moments, as we are coming slowly but surely towards the end of our session today, I'd like to ask, what are the blockers? Because whenever data governance and regulation, and we have some players now in terms of governments and policies. Sotiris, what do you think the impact is there?
I don't know. It's a good question. I always, like hear this question when we talk about data. But the thing is, are we overreacting sometimes? People going out there, throwing their personal data in every kind of social media, and then they come back and they say, oh, I don't want you to get this data. I don't want to give this data. European Union is so, I would say, I don't know. I don't want to use a word, but, decelerating things with regulation. And, you have to be in a balance with that. Okay. So in a global situation when the US and China are already competing for who's the fastest and biggest in the world, Europe, not so much the UK, but Europe is decelerating things. So it's good to have to understand privacy and security and stuff this and the regulation, but we definitely need more data to work. Otherwise, you cannot do anything with AI. And to collect more data, of course, you need to protect it. Of course, you need to be trusted by your customers, but you also need a lot of interaction with them. So sometimes the business data it is what it is. It's not much, you have to see what you have to work with. Public data now, it's in the interest of everybody to have more public data, let's say for the cities, more public data, open and public data. So anonymized, very carefully, filtered. But a lot of data show universities, research institutes, companies, startups can work on this data and produce amazing results. So having only proprietary data in terms of, closed silos doesn't serve the purpose of a greater AI. And I don't know if I'm answering the question, but I'm pro acceleration. Let's say European acceleration, UK acceleration. Okay, we tend to live in this continent, and we are closest with UK, of course. The US is many thousands miles away, but they're already doing what they have to do. They don't go towards closing the systems. They're investing, they're accelerating things, so we have to do the same. And companies should be careful, of course, but they should accelerate in terms of trying things, small steps, but they should not stay in the sidelines and say, okay, I'm going to do it whenever everybody else does. No, they're not going to be alive by this moment. They'll be dead.
Yes, I this question, that's what I'm taking away, that we all have to ask ourselves, are we overreacting or are we responding in a negative way to catchy headlines, which are designed for a different purpose, to stop the scroll, rather than dive deeper and understand what that means.
Can I say something? Can I say something here? I just don't want to forget it. Business and enterprises are not being done by lawyers. Lawyers are the deceleration factor. Yeah, they're doing their job. But you see lawyers talking about everything in AI. And, if lawyers go in the front lines and not the technologists, the AI creators, then we're going to see a lot of money being lost. Why? Because time is of essence here.
I would to intervene here as well because that's a very interesting point. So there are two aspects of overregulation, and in Europe we see overregulation in many ways. So one is the downside. So I to have an analogy with the agricultural sector in Europe. So we have very rigid regulations about a lot of things, chemicals, processes, etc., for our own produce, but we import the produce of other countries, which has no regulation whatsoever. So if we want to do the same, if we want to just import technology and innovation, it's a very good strategy. We will feel better, but we will just import regulation technology that someone else has with the data, because they will have the data as well. So this is the negative part. And also we are going to reduce competition, because for a big company to have like a huge burden of the technology is good, but for a smaller one, it's not.
Yeah.
They're doing a lot of things to improve that, and things are going to change. That's my understanding, but this is the important factor. But there is a second part. There is an opportunity with the regulation. If people start trusting the frameworks for unifying the data and provides a rigid but still a unified way of accessing data from multiple countries, especially for sensitive subjects, for example, health data or other kinds of data, then it can be an opportunity, because now a lot of people are afraid to give access to data. But this is a special question. So not all data is important, right? Not all data is personal. Not all data is sensitive. It's mostly, so this is mostly focused on specific sectors of the economy. It's not like, a discussion for every sector. So just for everyone that's, that's hearing this discussion, only specific sectors have these sensitivities.
Right.
Most sectors have this problem. Yeah.
I'm just noticing we are running out of time rapidly. This is a lot of information and a very important discussion around data. We haven't quite covered the opportunities, but we will continue this conversation to understand and link from what you just said, Agis, that it is an opportunity. It's just we need to shift our perspective. So thank you, Sotiris, for today. Thank you, Agis, for being here with us. We will continue the conversations, and let us know if you have any questions. And I'm going to drop below all the information on how to get in touch with Sotiris. Thank you, guys. Thank you for being here today.
Thank you very much. Great.